My name is Carina Gardner, and I'm what you would call a practical designer. If you're ready to create a life that you love, become an incredible force for good, and generate income while pursuing your dreams, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Make and Design. Hey designers, I am so excited because today I have Whitney Cernak with me, and we did this fantastic interview for the craft and design event. So I invited her back because I thought that those of you who were unable to make the event but are here on the podcast would love hearing from her. Welcome, Whitney.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited I get to do it again.
I know this is really fun. And those of you who are on the YouTube channel, you should see how cute Whitney is. She's like got some big, bright, happy earrings and a lavender sweater. She's just looking so cute. Okay, so Whitney, we kind of talked in the interview we did for the craft and design event. We talked about the crazy transition you made from like having a traditional job to basically making this decision that you could make money off of YouTube. Although I guess I
hmm
should ask you, did you really think you could make money off of YouTube? I think you did, right? Or
Yeah, not necessarily when I started. It was kind of just like a side thing. But then when it came to the point of, am I going to try to do this full time? I kind of had proof of concept that it could be something that could be, more lucrative than just like a little extra spending money, or just a creative outlet. So
yeah.
yes and no.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Whitney, will you tell everybody your YouTube channel?
Sure, it's called Whiskey and Wit.
Yeah. And how'd you come up with that name?
I get that question. People are like, what does this have to do? And like part of me is like, I wish I would have put DIY in there, but also it gets the conversation started. So I really like it. It was actually the name of my wood sign, like custom craft business. I got a Cricut in 2016 when I got engaged, and I got married the following year. And like anybody, I wanted some extra money to pay for the extra fluff stuff that you want for your wedding. So I started doing bachelorette t-shirts and signs for other people's weddings while I was also DIYing my stuff. And whiskey barrels were hugely popular in 2016, and like the rustic type of wedding. I love alliteration. I had a bunch of different name ideas, and that one just spoke to me and I ran with it. So there's no like grand, like secret meaning behind it. But I do, and my name's Whitney. So that's where
Yeah.
the wit part came from.
It's so funny. So between now and when we had our first interview, I have had a chance to spend some time on your channel, and it's delightful, like absolutely
Oh, thank
delightful.
you.
So I watched an episode where you were making planters for, so you're like, you've got out the power tools, you've got your miter saw out, and you're chopping all the things. What's your hope when people watch your channel?
I hope that once they watch it, whether they are brand new and have never made anything in their life, or they're looking for new inspiration, that they just leave knowing, A, they're more powerful than they probably think they are, and that, it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is with anything that we're doing. I want you to be able to, go back, and maybe you don't make the full planter if that's too much, but maybe you're inspired to get a planter and plant some pots on your patio. Just something to take away. So then that way you're adding a little bit of joy and creativity to your life. So I think it just kind of is a nice stress reliever for people as well to just kind of do something fun and creative.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I like kind of dug through your content, and you do all the way from like dollar store finds into building something to like these big like wood structures. Tell me
Mhm.
about your thought process on why you have so many different types of projects that you're showcasing on your YouTube channel.
So I think it boils down to I needed to do that out of necessity. Long story short, I started posting videos after my wedding because I kind of had like a creative lull because I was doing all this stuff, and I, just wanted something to do. And I learned via YouTube a lot of things. So I thought, hey, I could try this out. I started doing a lot of the things that I was watching. So, like how to decorate your house with Dollar Tree items, how to DIY things, super inexpensive. We were newlyweds. We had just had a wedding. We hadn't been that developed in our careers yet. So it was like I didn't have all this money to spend. So it was helping me furnish a house. Then the pandemic hit, and it seems like a lot more people got into the content creation space, which is awesome. This is such a fun job. Like I'm so happy for other folks. But I got to the point that so many people were creating Dollar Tree content that I felt like I was just a small fish in a big pond. And my marketing background clicked in, and it was like, okay, you have to figure out a way to differentiate yourself because, at the end of the day, like nobody is going to sit and watch 25 Dollar Tree videos if they all go up in the same week. Like, how do you get people to be interested in your work and then eventually in me as, a person to watch? And so it started by, adding Cricut content, and that did well. So I was like, okay, well, what else can we do? I started doing, Walmart stuff, like how to find, dupes for high-end stuff or how to make it yourself. And then we picked up power tools and that performed well. So it kind of just was a necessity out of needing to find my own lane in a niche that became oversaturated to the point where I was like, okay, if I don't adapt, I probably will, kind of fall behind and won't be able to grow here.
Yeah. I love how honest you are about like strategically you have to be. I think a lot of people have the idea that if you're producing, if you're a content creator, you're just kind of like whatever feels good. And
Mhm.
I don't know that that's actually the case. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's a great question. I think I try my best to create content that people are going to want to watch because at the end of the day, if I'm just making stuff for myself, that's great, but it's almost kind of slightly wasting my time. Like, yes, it's bringing me joy, but when I'm doing this for work, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to just do what feels good for me. So I try to keep an eye on, what is performing well. Because at the end of the day, when you're a YouTube creator, the more views you get, the more views on advertisers' content that they get, and the more that you're compensated for that. So it's my goal to find stuff that you're going to want to click on in the first place. Is it a good topic? And then, is it something that you're going to want to sit there and watch, for enough time, and hopefully see an ad, maybe interact with it, and show that show those advertisers that I'm somebody that you want to watch. But also, I think as a content creator, there is a little bit of you have to do some of that stuff for yourself or you will burn out.
Mhm.
So it's trying to figure out a way that, okay, I am, especially when you're full time. I mean, if you're just doing it on the side and you just happen to be recording projects you're going to do anyway, it's kind of a whole different ball game. But for me, it turned from a side hustle to wanting to go full time. And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we have bills we have to pay. I don't have another job bringing money in. So I have to find a balance between, okay, what's going to perform well, and then also what's good for my mental health and my joy. So then that way, at the end of the week, I'm not like, this is like, way too much because there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes of, I don't just make a project and a video appears, like some people think. So it's definitely trying to strike a balance there.
Yeah, super fascinating because I do think a lot of people look in at the influencer space, whether it's on Instagram and people are getting sponsorships or YouTube. And I did notice you do sponsorships on top of what you're making off the YouTube channel itself. And I think a lot of people think like you have to be monstrously big, like Mr. Beast, in order to make money. But that's really not the case. Is that, I mean, that's what you found. I think that's what I've found because I have a very tiny following and we make
Yeah,
money off of YouTube, which is very fascinating.
totally. I think there's an opportunity for all different sizes of creators. Um, Not every creator is the same size, but every creator has a unique voice. And at the end of the day, brands want to work with people that are authentic and they have communities that resonate with what they're sharing. And I think there are a lot of brands out there that also will reach out, and it may not be a good fit. But I'm very grateful and blessed in the situation, that you have brands that are like, okay, I like what you're doing. I want to work with you. But I mean, I know they call them micro influencers, but like anybody that's worked hard to create any sort of following, gold star for them. But they can do everything from a brand might send you free product to then you could transition to, okay, they'll send you the product and then they may pay you for access to your community or access to your voice or access to your filming style. So yeah, you don't have to have, I mean, I don't have a million. You don't have to have a million. You don't have to have 100,000. You don't even have to have 50,000. It just depends on the platform that you're on and also the community that you've created. And if those folks want to interact with you, if brands are seeing, maybe you have a small group, but everybody in that group is really interested in what you have to say, that's very valuable. On the business side to those brands, especially if you resonate with that brand, already use them, maybe have already talked about them. They're not 100% looking at that follower count. They're looking more at, what can you provide as a personality? What content do you create? Things like that.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I would love to talk. I think this is kind of a great way to wrap it up too, is pros and cons of deciding to choose this space to make money in. Because this is really different than those of you who are listening, a lot of you are designers and making money in the design space versus this is what we consider an influencer space, making money via creation content and
Hmm.
sponsorships. Let's start with pros. Like, why are you glad you got into it? Like, what are the big pros? Why would you say anyone should get into this? And then we'll dig into the cons.
Totally. So I think it's important. Before I did this, I didn't really understand the difference between what you would think of as like an influencer and a content creator. And you can be both, but they are different. And this is just my definition. I'm not like, there's not an official definition, but what I see is if you're a content creator, a majority of your income is coming from you creating new content, just like it sounds. So you're creating craft content, you're creating comedy content, whatever that is, you can make money on that from wherever. Influencers, I find, have a lot more of their income coming from selling products. So when you are watching a reel and somebody's like, look at these really cool jeans or this top, comment this and I'll send you the link. They're making a lot more of their money from, selling products, which both are great, but I think they're two different beasts. And I find myself, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm more of a content creator, but I do the affiliate piece as well. And at the end of the day, all things considered, I am so glad that I made the choice to do this full time. It's not been an easy road, but overall, at the end of the day, like I'm incredibly grateful. I get to spend a lot more time with my family. I'm home every day with my son. I'm lucky enough to have this room that I can craft in, and it's been just a huge blessing to our family. So, not the easiest road, but I'm also glad I did it.
Yeah. So, like, cons, what's so not easy about it? And by the way, I've never heard the difference between content creator and influencer. I think that was really incredibly helpful. It's kind of the way
Okay.
you make the money. That's kind of,
Yeah, that's how I view it. I don't know if like you look Google that if that's what, but that's kind of in my mind how I see the difference and how I explain what I do to people. So yeah, you can kind of be one or the other or hybrid, but
yeah, interesting. Okay.
yeah.
Cons. What is so hard about it? What gets your, goat every day or makes things difficult?
Totally. So I think first I have to preface this with like I am incredibly grateful for the job that I have. I see the blessings in it. I am so thankful. But to be completely honest, there is a mental health issue that goes on in the content creator space. On my channel, I've been very open. I had postpartum depression with my son. I've dealt with some depression and anxiety. And I think, especially as somebody that's used to working on a team, when you go to work by yourself, it can kind of mess with your head, especially because it's so hard to stay in your own lane when you can see the metrics and everything else that are going on with everybody else. Like you see how many times somebody else is posting, and comparison's truly the thief of joy. So I've had to figure out ways to kind of even out that. And I know sometimes that can probably sound, a little meta for the situation, but especially being online and the fact that people can say whatever they want to you behind a keyboard can be a little tough. Also, constantly innovating and being creative can be tough. Having to stick to a schedule because, if you don't put content out, you're not making money. So it's continually figuring out how do I create new things? How do I replicate things that have done well? And that's kind of the marketing piece behind it. But I would say those are probably the two biggest things, staying on top of your game and then kind of the mental health. Like you don't have a team to work with, which I love people. So I've found good friends in the space that do the same thing, that they're kind of like my pseudo coworkers that really help through situations like that.
Yeah, that is that. I mean, I think that's a really good thing to note or think about. Should you, if you're listening to this and you're like thinking about, getting into the space. I know most of you probably aren't thinking about getting into content creation for this, but maybe content creation in junction with your design work, right? Just showing like how to
Totally.
use your own designs. But I do think this is a problem overall that I see for solopreneurs, especially since
Hmm.
COVID. So many people are working on their own, whether they're doing it. I mean, I have a team, but I'm still working by myself. I just am in meetings a lot of times with my team. But at the end of the day, I'm really by myself. And I think that can get to your head. And if you're not
Hmm.
careful, the whole idea of comparison is the thief of joy. I do think it's very easy to go online and see what everyone else is doing and just feel completely defeated before you even begin.
Hmm. I think too, if you have folks that do a lot of like vendor fairs or markets, or even if you sell on Etsy, I think it's a similar thing where, you can see what everybody else is doing and that fishbowl piece. It can be nice, it can be motivating, but it can also be, on the other side of the spectrum as well.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, I would love for people to go check out your channel because what a fantastically fun channel it is.
Thank
So
you.
will you tell everybody where they need to go so that they can connect with you?
Totally. On YouTube, you can just search Whiskey and Wit, or you can go to whiskeyandwit.com, and I have blog posts with all my videos as well. Just spell out the word and. So whiskeyandwit.com. And then I'm on all the other platforms, TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
So incredible. Okay, we'll have those in the show notes. You guys go check out what she's doing. I think it'll really intrigue you. Those of you, especially with design shops, and you're kind of trying to figure out like just how to get your products out there, maybe taking a look at these different platforms will help you. All right, guys, everybody have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon. Did you know you have access to more free design content, die cut files, and sewing patterns? Join our exclusive VIP group for free by going to designsweetcourses.com/free.